We are the most giving society in the world's history, and the best thing we can do is limit the size of the government so organizations like mine can contribute towards efforts in other countries and continue to spread that capital and that wealth. It's not the federal government's job to be the hero of the world by taking charitable cases. That's not going to help them, and it's not going to help their society. It ultimately kills their society, is what we're doing. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So it's a challenge because, again, your natural compassion is like, my gosh, we want to take the weak and the poor and everybody. Well, yeah, but to an extent, we got to take care of ourselves too. We have $1 trillion deficit a year right now. Every single year, we're spending $1 trillion more. We're not in the best shape ourselves.
So how do you reconcile that with Republican politics, that fact that we are spending that much?
It's a great point. I'm very concerned that the party has branded themselves as fiscally irresponsible, at least for the remainder of my lifetime. I don't know how the Republicans are going to ever justify again that they are actually fiscally responsible. It kills me. It kills me when you see senators, including my opponent, that she said in a quote, this is one of the ones that really got me, okay, this killed me. And she said, I had to plug my nose to vote for that budget. And I thought to myself, who says that? I mean, what do you mean? So you're basically, think about what you're saying. I hate what I just did. What I just did was wrong, but I did it anyways. If you dissect that comment. So yeah, how do you reconcile it? Someone at some point is going to have to stand on the Senate floor and start to turn that tide the other direction. Start to put a spine back in these Republicans. But frankly, I got to tell you guys this: it's organized crime. Just so you know, flat out, the politicians that are in place are individuals that are put there that are lock, stock, and barrel owned by whatever entity out there is owning them. And they're, in my opinion, I'm going to say it to you guys here, and you guys deserve this here because you're young, college-minded students. In my opinion, if I was looking at this as a consultant, I would say it looks like the Republican Party is a front group for the Democratic Party. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like a divide and conquer strategy. And prove me otherwise. Tell me where, in my lifetime, I've seen the Republican platform being successful at all. They're pro-life, but they won't define life. Fiscally responsible, but the $1 trillion deficits. The list can go on and on and on at the Republican platform. So, I mean, I'm not trying to disparage our party. I would love to see the party change, but that's just a fact. Yep.
So you mentioned the culture war and like Christian morality. I think we can agree that when a community has Christian values or values in general, it flourishes and works better. So what are ways that you think, I don't know, I guess the media, however, Christian values can be more mainstream in society? Because a lot of people are atheists and they're just not, so they're not voting based on the actual morality of anything.
Right.
What are ways you think or would encourage whatever to make Christian values, I don't know, at the forefront again?
It's a great question. And this is something that I think is going to be something we struggle with as a country for a long time. And I think this is part of our identity as a country. Right now, as I'm talking to you, your mind is processing so many different thoughts. Your mind's a beautiful thing, right? You can do so many different things simultaneously. And imagine if all those nasty thoughts that you've ever had came to life, right? They don't instantaneously, fortunately for all of us, right? So we live in a world where there's limitations in terms of thoughts and action. They're two different things. We think a lot of different things, but what actually happens in our action, there's two different courses there, right? So to celebrate that point, we have to, rather than shying away from Christian values, even if you're an atheist, rather than hiding away from them, it's imperative to say, well, let's look at the context of this text biblically. What if we just looked from a biblical standpoint? What if we just challenged the status quo and said, maybe, what if this is history, regardless if we like it or not, it is history. So to answer the question, the way that we strengthen the morality of our society is to encourage everybody just to read the text. Do it on your own time. I mean, I'm not a preacher. None of you, I don't think, I'm not aware of any of you that are going to be called to ministry. But the fact is that, you know, unless you're being called into ministry, you're probably not going to be a preacher. So don't try to be. All you have to do is just say, hey, let's look at this from a historical context. If, in fact, there is reality here, if it's all fairy tales, who cares? Let's say it's all fairy tales. It's still history. But all you can do, and my encouragement to everybody, and including our politicians today, is if we could have them all start to point the public to that text, that would be the very best thing to get back to that rooted nature of Judeo-Christian values. No one's going to do it for you. I could preach to you all day, but it's not going to work. The only thing that's going to work is you deciding on your own and examining it yourself. So I hope we see our leadership getting involved with that. I'd say Trump, frankly, as much as people say terrible things, and look, everybody has a different opinion about the guy. I think the guy's a little crass sometimes. You know, obviously he's got his style. I'm from New York, so I have a little bit more of a thick skin towards him because I know what he is. But the reason I say this is because if you actually look at what he's been doing in terms of from the Christian viewpoint, it's really amazing. I mean, it's pretty stunning, frankly.
So I have a question. You got a little bit from what happened at ASU from Julie in regards to Antifa on campus, and you know throughout the country there's street brawlers. They've been arrested left and right through different events, and here on ASU they are very active on campus. What would you recommend that we do, or the society should do, in order to address Antifa on campus? I still want to respect their First Amendment right to protest what we do, but peacefully and not taking the microphone away and shutting down events or chasing off ICE from campus. How would you handle that? I'm gonna leverage my business experiences to that for you. I would look at the Antifa and the left of if I'm you guys and I want to combat that. I'm gonna look at it from a business standpoint, from a competitive business. When you're competing against another business and you're in the same space, there's some huge mistakes that businesses make, and I'll explain to you some of the differences. For example, Walmart. If you notice, if you listen to a Walmart ad, Walmart never says that we have mediocre prices or we've got okay deals, right? What Walmart says is we provide the lowest prices. We provide the best there is. You can't get anything better than at Walmart. Walmart's the best. So you have to have confidence in your message. That's the first imperative part of any business, is that you understand and you have confidence in what your product is. You guys can have product. You can have product confidence. The only thing that's going to solve our country's problems is rooted in the Constitution, which is rooted in conservatism. Conservatism, by the way, is just grasping to the known rather than reaching for the unknown. That's all conservatism is. Conservatism, under the pretext of Barry Goldwater, is just sticking to what we know works. Now, so think about what you have as an advantage. You have the secret sauce of what makes this country so great. You have the only solution which is going to make this country better. There's no other way around it. So what you're really fighting is you're fighting an inferior product that's just loud. So the best thing you can do is be louder. If they bring 10 people to an environment, you guys should have 20. If they have 100 people somewhere, you guys should have 200. And you should be able to have confidence in the fact that what your message is. And by the way, as I go back to my first initial part, this is part of the war I'm talking about. You can no longer sit on your laurels. Right.
This isn't like it used to be. Listen, this isn't the same game anymore. I've got a 15-year-old son. I'm saying this to you because I'm begging you. You guys have to have confidence in what you're doing and stand up for what you're doing. You've got to be bold. Bring friends into these situations. Recruit people in immediately. Don't just rest on it and say, oh yeah, they make some good sense. No, you guys need to get numbers.
Yep.
That's how I would fight it. Is I would fight it with confidence, knowing that you're right, recruiting, and just build higher.
So,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
so let me add on that. We often have tables where we do recruit students on campus. And we often have conservatives come up to us who say, we love what you're doing, we would love to join you,
but we're afraid of how our family members are going to react to that, how faculty is going to react to that, how friends on campus are going to react to that. They don't want to come out of the closet as being conservative, so they cower away. So you also have to realize too, 80% of the faculty or the student body here are hardcore leftists, if they even are on the political spectrum. You're dealing with a much smaller market of conservatives here. So we would love to have 400 people to meet Antifa's 300 people that they bring to a protest. That's very difficult from where we're at right now.
So the reality on the ground is that there's an improbability of being able to get past that, right? So
Right.
now you have to transition into being swifter, being smarter. You have to be more cunning because the group that you're fighting against has numbers. So you have to be bolder in your messaging. You have to be louder in your messaging. And that's just a reality. 3% is all it takes. That's all it takes to have a shift is 3%. The LGBT community in this country makes up 4%. That's all it is. And look at the voice that they have. Demand your respect from your faculty. Stand up to them. Do not cower. Cowering is what makes strong men weak. I don't know whose quote that was. But do not cower. Stand up for yourself. And don't run. If there's a faculty member that puts you on the spot or you're going to fail the grade. And I'll tell you why. If you don't, let me ask you guys a question. I'm not going to do that. I'll never mind. I'm not going to go there. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just a little concerned about the whole louder deal because wouldn't that just increase confusion and further drive the two political parties apart?
All right. Again, I'm looking at this from a different context probably than what you are. I'm looking at it a little bit more dire. Let me explain to you what communism does. Have you studied Argentina? Venezuela?
I'm very politically stupid.
Okay. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. You said that before. Let me explain to you what you're dealing with right now. Okay. If in fact we allow the federal government to take over the healthcare of our country, the utopia that they're going to sell you on, and that the left that's all advocating for, the common sense approach, that it's okay. This is a good thing. We pay this much taxes. Why shouldn't we have health care the same way that Europe does or these other countries does? Let me explain to you the ramifications and the consequences if you relinquish your individual rights to a communist state. It's called tyranny. And what tyranny means is that 15-year-old boy that I'm talking about, that son, and you all are sons and daughters of people, or someday you're going to have sons and daughters, hopefully. When that happens, all hell breaks out. Because there's a huge populace of people, and it's over 3% of people, that will not stand for communism. The federal government is going too far in this country. And there's a huge populace in this country that will not take, they'll only take so much. So I guess here's what I'm trying to express to you. I want to reframe your thinking in regards to this argument. When I'm saying it's a war, I'm saying we are legitimately in the midst of a war. It's cold. It's not kinetic. There's no shots being fired yet. I'm not exaggerating. If you look up the tyranny of communism around the world's history, you're going to find some very alarming things. And that is what the left of this country is advocating for. So on the college campuses right here, where this is supposed to be the utopia of learning, you guys should not be indoctrinated or scared to be indoctrinated or afraid to speak your views. That's not right. That's against every moral fabric of this country. So I'm encouraging you to get out of your comfort zone a little bit when it comes to the confidence you have in this product. Because if you're defensive rather than offensive, what happens is not good in terms of history. And I'm speaking from just a historical context, okay? Right now, you guys watching what's going on in China at all right now with the Hong Kong situation? There's 2 million people in concentration camps in China right now. 2 million people. What they do in these concentration camps to these people is, when I say barbaric, I'm saying they actually rip their fingernails off them. They take someone's fingernails, they rip them off one by one. This is happening today, right now, in today's world, and around the globe. In North Korea, if you speak up against Kim Jong-un, you are immediately imprisoned and then tortured. And what happens is, by the way, is the people around you are encouraged to turn you in. They're rewarded. So this is how communism works. They actually pit society against each other. Sound familiar? Left and right? It's called divide and conquer. It's what you do. It's how communism works. The whole framework of communism is in such a way that they take people, they suppress them, they take over every sector of society, economics, morals, education. When I'm saying we're in a war, I'm not trying to alarm you because I want you to lose sleep at night. I'm trying to alarm you like Paul Revere did by ringing the bell, okay? We've got to go fast. I'm not kidding you. If a guy like me is willing to stop what I'm doing in life, which 6 months ago, I was literally enjoying the fruits of labor, okay? If I'm willing to say, I'm done with that for a while because I examined the situation and I saw how corrupt it is and how bad it is, I hope that that's enough of an alarm bell for you to say, get a little bit uncomfortable on the college campus. It's okay. You'll regret it if you don't. I'll regret it if you don't. Go ahead.
Could you explain like LDs, maybe get these
Yeah.
folks with more like-minded folks?
Absolutely. Well, I think that you guys have gone through, did all of you in this room, were you here when Dan Schultz was here? Because I know Dan was here at one point, right?
Several times.
Do you guys understand the structure of the political slants? I know you're probably new to this, but do you understand how the congressional seats work and how the LDs work and all those things? Okay, get involved now. Don't wait. I know you're busy. I know your schedule is busy with college. But this is important. Put your life on hold a little bit. So yes, to Andy's point, the LD system, the way the structure is in the state is it's all a reflection of kind of the federal government. You have LDs. Those LDs give you access to state representatives. Those state representatives are voted for, divided amongst LDs. So you guys get all that. But get involved now as you're young and you have energy.
So you have the county level, you have the precincts or the legislative districts, then you have the precincts, and it really is a top or bottom up way of control. You go to these meetings like once a month, you may be one of 30, one of 200, but if you're a precinct committeeman, which is super easy to become one, your vote carries a lot more power in the Republican Party than, say, you're voting for governor, because you're one of a million, right? Well, if you're one of 30 now, you actually have a much louder voice. And so why it matters is you have the ability to elect your party chairman, exactly what's in the Republican party platform, endorsements, money, the control of the money to who it goes to. You have a lot of say of what you normally wouldn't have if you don't join these things. So we encourage people to join, and if you're interested in being part of that, we can tell you which LD you're part of, where to go. And it's only once a month, really, these meetings.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
So, how do you feel about, considering what you said about North Korea and all that, like, how do you feel about Trump's, like, comparative openness towards the North Korean leader?
I have a firm belief that if you are selected to be the leader of this country, you have a unique advantage in terms of vantage point than anybody in the world. Your access to information that no one can fathom. And I think that what Trump is doing, frankly, is it's a reflection of how bad the situation is. And what I mean by that is that for him to establish a relationship in the way he had tells you how close we probably were to some serious situations with the North Koreans. I think obviously there's a proxy war that happened in Korea in terms of the North and South Koreans. There's a lot of geopolitical minutia there. And I think him stepping in that fashion just shows you probably how serious the issue really was. And how serious the issue is. It's going to continue to be. I think it's very unorthodox, obviously. So I can't say as though I disagree with anything he's done there, because it looks to me like he's playing a game of chess, which is, but again, he has a view that none of us have, which I hope to have a seat at the table very soon. Will you guys get me elected, please, so I can get there and see what the heck's going on? Yeah.
With that, so you're running against McSally.
Yep.
Could you give us your best case on why we should vote for you over her? And then, since we're talking about like Judeo-Christian values, can you, at the end of that, can you give a few positive points for her, just so it's not so
Not so bad?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a job. The way our government works is you're hiring a representative to represent you. Okay, so what you're looking for is the way I would relate it is this. Let's say you had a terrible lawsuit coming your way, okay? And you had to hire the best attorney possible. You have a couple options here. Do you want to hire someone that is extremely proficient in negotiation, $1 million deals? I've brought in tens of millions of dollars. Do you want to have someone that's just an absolute unbiased monster when it comes to negotiations? What I mean by that is this: is there's no one that's going to fight like I am for you in DC. No one. I'm going to employ tactics that have never been used before in negotiation. We're going to do things completely different. We're going to be a very positive disruption for your constitutional rights. My opponent has a bureaucratic track record. Unfortunately for her, she has a House record that is indicative of who she is. For instance, this is an individual that when the IRS was weaponized, by the way, the IRS in this country was weaponized. It was used as a tool to suppress the opposite party. When the IRS was weaponized, in the House, when she was in the House, brought up impeachment against some individuals that were responsible for that weaponization of a federal agency. She was a no vote. She actually voted no. This is an individual that voted to expand our government in ways that were not only not necessary, they're completely contradictory to our Republican platform. She's done it over and over again. Here's a great example of that. While she was in the House, she voted to expand the Federal Department of Education. Unbelievable. The vote was not only was it not necessary, she could have voted no. Meaning her vote wasn't even necessary to carry it over. She was a yes vote on it. Her voting record demonstrates what she's going to continue to do. When I was writing checks and doing everything in my power to get that man elected in 2016, behind the scenes, as a donor, as an activist, as someone just concerned, she was on TV saying she's undecided if she's going to vote between Hillary and Trump. This is after the primary. So he was already through that swamp of bureaucrats. So it's a complete contrast. It's John McCain versus conservatism, Goldwater type policy. So it's a totally different worldview. In terms of what she's done great is no one can fault her for her military service. We have to celebrate anybody that's a veteran for our country. I mean, it's a great sacrifice. My brother was in the Air Force. So it's you can't fault anybody for donating their life to the Air Force or to any branch. That's all she's gonna get from me though, nice. So don't expect anything else, please. Please disregard that on the camera, dude. I'm just kidding. Anything else?
Well, I guess I had one.
Shoot it out there.
So, in the last Senate election, part of how McSally ended up winning was that McConnell dropped millions of dollars into advertising revenue to boost McSally over ward.
Yep.
So that's been leading me to think since then about the question of, how should I put this? State sovereignty as regards to outside political contributions.
Good
For
thinking.
example, why is it that a senator from Kentucky gets to decide who are senator candidates in Arizona?
Very smart. Very smart. It's a very good question. Very good question for legal grounds, when you think about it. Yes, it is. I think though, with what you just said, I want to leverage that into another point, because this is important for all you guys to know. I dissected every senatorial campaign that was attempted in this state over the past 10, 15 years. From J.D. Hayworth, Will Cardin, Kelly Ward, who is an absolutely terrible chairman. I hope she hears that too. I'm just kidding. She'll come around. She's just a little weak, a little squishy. But Kelly Ward, you name it. Who else do we have? I dissected Christine Jones. I dissected all these campaigns. Okay.
Ronnie Glasser.
No. They snuck a picture. Did you see they snuck a picture?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I wasn't next to him, thankfully, but he was in the crowd. But I dissected these campaigns, and I found something very interesting. They all lost to the establishment. They were all outsiders, and they all lost. And so I had to develop a plan that was going to win, because I'm not in this for fun. I like to win. So I had to develop a plan to win. So the reason I bring that to your attention is because who in here is studying for business? Who's a business major? Business major? No other business majors? What's that?
I minored in
Minor business?
Oh, minors, yeah.
Minors? No other business in here? What's your guys' majors? What do you guys,
Computer science.
your science?
Poli-sci.
Poli-sci? Shame on you.
Education.
Okay. I was gonna give you guys a really good business lesson, but never mind. In order to win, it's gonna require a very unorthodox approach to
Yeah.
fight that system that you're describing. But, yeah.
McConnell shouldn't have been able to do that.
No. No. By the way, you know, listen to this. Do you know once you become a senator, you have to pay back the RNC for you get a bill from the RNC for $250,000 or more? And then in order to get on those committees that are so celebrated, you have to pay your way to get on those committees. The senators actually buy those committee seats. They have to, it's really remarkable what's going on. But
Could you explain that a little bit, elaborate more?
yeah, so in DC, the way it works is it's all shenanigans. It's all fugazi. It's all money. So what happens is that if you want a position in a committee, you basically have to be a guarantee on a certain amount of money in order to get that seat. So in essence, think about it like this: when we're looking at our politicians and they say, "I'm on the Armed Service Committee," well, how much did you pay to get there? Who did you pay it to? That's a very serious concern, because out of those committees come legislation. That legislation then goes to a vote. So those committees that people are paying their way to get into. So I want you to think about this just for a second. Think about this logically. The foundation of the bills that are becoming law of our land are coming from a foundation of corruption. I want to get on that committee because I want to influence that committee for a bill that my corporate sponsors tell me that I need to sponsor. So I need to buy my way on that committee. So now that organization or organizations that pay for my campaign contributions, I am indebted to. I'm beholden to them. That only works for so long before the system collapses, right? So does that make sense? Does that elaborate? Yep.
How are you gonna get around that if you get elected? Assuming you do.
This is the beautiful thing about a Senate seat, and I'll give you guys this too. This is a great little lesson for you.
One federal senator can do something that not one House member can do, not one judge can do, not one president can do. One senator out of 100 can do something really remarkable. They can stand on the Senate floor until their legs drop or until they can't talk anymore. They can actually clog the arteries of Congress. That's why they'll do everything in their power to make sure I do not get elected. Everything. Because if you send one person to DC in a federal Senate seat, they can disrupt things in a way that you could never imagine. One senator can. So the beautiful thing is that little safeguard, that filibuster safeguard that's been embedded inside of our Constitution is still there for the time being. So how I plan on disrupting that is I'm hired for this job. I stand on the Senate floor. I fall over, wake up the next day, go back, talk for 3 hours, three days straight, fall over. The record, by the way, is 36 hours. I'll break that. I'll have first, second, third place, kind of like Emmitt Smith when he was in college. You know, his shadow got second place. I don't know, you guys probably don't remember Emmitt Smith, but he's a big football player. I was growing up. Yeah. You're a little late. We got to start all over again.
Thank you for your time.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but we have to.
Get out of here. Can I close?
Yeah, go ahead, close.
Okay. Do me a favor if you can. My website is demanddaniel.com. Again, demanddaniel.com. My information's there. The only way this is going to work is if you guys are active and involved, and you bring other people to become active and involved. Okay? We need energy and youth from college students to get involved with our campaign, so please do so. Rick is my point man on that, so obviously reach out to Rick or Julie, of course. Julie's a good point person as well. Thank you for what you guys do, okay? And thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll see you soon. Yeah.
Don't need me for anything else, okay?